There you go.
Awesome. All right. Hey, welcome back to another episode of Inspired Hustler. Tonight we are with Ian Boshoff and hosting Real Estate Profits just like the old days.
Yes,
How are you, Ian?
I'm doing fantastic. Thanks for having me, Jessica. I
Of course.
appreciate
Tell everybody who you are and how long you've been in the business and what we do.
Yeah, for sure. So I've been in the mortgage real estate space since 1998. Started in San Diego, California, and worked my way up to Northern California. I've been encompassing real estate and mortgages for that entire time. And I was graced with Jessica's presence almost a decade ago. Met her as a hustler agent, and I really wanted to work with her because she just had this energy and this thing about her. She just got it
Yeah.
done, and so
Yeah.
I love working around people that like that. And just between her and I, we close a lot of business together, and I've always appreciated her advice in business and her clients, and we just seem to hit it off pretty well. So yeah, thanks for having me
We do
again.
a lot. We do a lot of business together, but I will tell you why. From the time that we started working together just as a team, you would call me and go, "Hey, I've got this great new program." And I would say, "Tell me all about it." And then I would call five people and go, "Wow, okay, there's a new program. There's a down payment assistance, it's a grant program, or there's a bridge loan, or you always are on the cutting edge of what's new and what we can use for our clients' benefit. And I think having that knowledge is what allows me to go out and bring in clients who are like, "Hey, who's interested? No money out of pocket." Like, of course, five people raise their hand. They all want that deal. So I think just having that camaraderie and making sure that you are disseminating all the information to me about all of the programs and what's coming up in the market, because you're following all of the things that I'm not following, all of the reports, all of the what's the word I'm looking for, like the
Economic data.
all of that, all of the economic data. Yes. And you know what's about to go down, you know when rates are going to come down, you know when rates are going to go up, you know when we should go ahead and lock and when we shouldn't. So I think having that team dynamic is so important, because without having a go-to, business partner that really knows what's going on that side of things, it's hard to have a tap on what's going on in the loan world or what things just changed. I mean, how often do programs change?
And well, programs change. They come out with new guidelines. They flip the guidelines sometimes every 3 months,
Uh-huh.
depending on what's happening to the market. But if I knew what was going to happen with the market, I'd be in a different position. But ultimately, I've got all the technology, thanks to the company that I work for, to help me understand what's next and what's
Uh-huh.
possibly coming down the pipe. The people I work with, they're all players. They've been doing this longer than I have. So I like to be surrounded by people who know more than I do. And in this case, I do. I mean, working with Jessica and talking about the loan products, they're actually, a lot of them are quite, so a lot of lenders get used to certain things, and all
Mhm.
they do is they sell that certain thing because they're comfortable with it. But
Sure.
what they don't look into is the deeper aspect of kind of what the newer products have and how they can benefit the client better. And
Yeah.
and a lot of times people just go with what they know, but they don't take the time to learn with what actually will help the client more and
Mm.
what's in the client's best interests. Kind of like the
Uh-huh.
grant program versus, I'll use an example, like
Yeah.
The Cal Halfa program in California is great. It provides down payment assistance, possible closing cost assistance, but those affect interest rate, and you do have a second mortgage behind it. And
Mhm.
your interest rate on the first mortgage is it's market rate, which is nice. However, the second, which is your down payment, that is a
Mhm.
silent second. It's a loan that you'll have to pay back. Where there's products out there right now that we can get the down payment assistance, and it will be forgiven after six payments. And granted, your interest rate on the first mortgage may be slightly higher. You're only in that loan for 6 months, and then we can get you out. And then we just gave your down payment for free. When you go to refinance and you're in the CalHFA program, you
Uh-huh.
have to pay off that down
Mhm.
payment assistance, right? And you have to have enough equity to do so. So there's programs like the grant, which I
Mhm.
absolutely am in love with, that make it all possible. We can negotiate Buydowns where that
Yeah.
rate's actually lower, and you do that all the
Mhm.
time. It makes it a little bit
We do that all the time.
all the time. And so, I mean, it's not easy to do. And oftentimes you're not able to get it done if you're just, a normal everyday agent. But Jessica, no matter what, I mean, I've seen you write your offers and ask for 6% seller concession. Most agents don't even bother asking for that, you know? So you
Oh,
really
yes,
work
you're
your
right.
clients that way. And that's where I have the most respect for you, because you're not worried about how many contracts you're writing up. You actually care about what happens to the client. And and
Well,
that's
I have
that's
this conversation often with agents, and they say, "Oh, I can't ask for that." And my response is always, the business that I am getting is coming from like Trina, our new client that we're going to help, right? And I've probably done 12 transactions within her family. So my business is going to come from Trina because she's so happy that we were able to get her down payment assistance and a grant. My
yeah.
business is not coming from Jack, the agent that I'm writing the offer asking 6% back from. So I'm very confused as to why agents are not using this play when, especially when homes been on the market more than 30 or 40 days, asking for that 6% back, because the business that I'm going to get is going to come from a really happy client. It's not going to come from an agent who may or may not have another listing. There's a lot of agents out there that are doing minimal business that don't really have a temperature on what's going on in the market right now. And that can't hold us up from getting what our client needs, because that client's going to bring us repeat business.
I mean, you're looking out for their interests. I mean, I don't want to put this out there, but a lot of agents don't want to do the work necessary to get into contract. And
Sure.
sometimes they'd rather make a nice, easy offer to get accepted,
Uh-huh.
where sometimes the easiest path isn't best for the client. So
Sure.
you gotta fight for your client.
Mm-hmm.
And
Well, and there's plenty of lenders out there too that just want to do a paper. You're a W-2 earner with a 780 credit score and you want a $700,000 house. Cool. I can do that all day long. And they follow up like, and I answer my phone. Awesome. You should always answer your phone. That should be something you just do as a rule. But I know for a fact other lenders are not as apt to jump right in. Like, we have 5 new buyers this week. All of them want to use down payment assistance and the grant. That's a
yeah,
harder program. It's a lot more work for you. It's a lot more work for the processor. It's not a slam dunk 780 credit score. So yeah, kudos to you for doing all of the hard work, because we get not only our clients what they need, but then we're getting the repeat business from their family members, their neighbors. And that's what's been able to keep us, fueled for so long.
yeah, no, it's great. I mean, because we're going to get called back for later on, and
Uh-huh.
like we do get calls back. We get, hey, I
We
need to.
do. We do. We
I
not
need.
only get callbacks, but we get like Jessica, another one of our clients who we've helped her brother and her sister, and we've helped everybody in her family. She just referred another client that's moving from Pennsylvania. So it isn't just a referral to me, it's a referral to us. And we
Yeah,
get a lot of those. And I know there's a lot of other lenders and agents out there that would like to have that relationship. And that relationship comes from years of doing good work together, where people know that you're a team and they come back for the team, not just one of us. And I'm really appreciative of that.
no,
We're
I
getting a
just got
lot of,
off. I just got off the phone with him in Pennsylvania about an hour and a half ago.
uh-huh,
So,
very excited. Yeah, those folks called and said, "Hey, we're looking for a rental. Can you help us?" And I said, "Yeah, tell me what's going on. What are you looking for?" And they gave me their whole situation. And I said, "You're gonna have a much easier time buying a house, and that we have a down payment assistance." And she was like, "Well, wait a minute, let's talk about that."
yeah,
So we went from the conversation of looking for a rental, and I said, "You're gonna pay just as much. You may as well buy a house, and you're not gonna have to come in with a first and a last and a security deposit for your dog. This is going to be so much easier." So yeah, I think it's having that teamwork to really make it happen for people that didn't know this was going to be an option.
yeah. Where do you see in the market right now with inventory? Just out of curiosity, I know it's kind of a up in the air market, but as the spring is emerging and as the summer's coming, compared to how it was about 6 months ago,
Uh-huh.
how's the market, your outlook?
We still have a lot of inventory, and I am seeing new inventory come on daily. So I don't think we're going to have a shortage of housing. Still think we're a ways out from the tide turning. We're still in a very much a buyer's market.
Yeah. Okay.
Which
Good.
is great for all of the buyers we just brought in this week. Great, great, great. And if you're a seller, you really have to be prepared to price your property aggressively. And we always offer, I represent the seller, well, we almost always offer a buy down straight out of the gate. You know, where a seller is willing to do a buy down and willing to do closing costs because that's what the buyers are after. So I want to
Yeah.
meet that need.
You know, to that point, when you're
Yeah.
advertising that on a listing, Jessica, the reason why you're advertising it is because most agents don't offer that to their buyer. And
They
so
don't have that conversation. No.
they don't have that conversation because it's harder to negotiate. And if you're out the bat offering that buy down, you're making that product more sellable and you're giving that agent more of a influence to the buyer. Hey, these guys are offering this, a credit towards the buy down.
Definitely. Yeah.
And a credit towards the buy down, for those who don't know, if the market rate's 6.5, you can get a 4.5 for the first year and a 5.5 the second year. Sometimes there's a 3-year buy down where it's 3% lower. Sometimes there's a 1% where it's 1% lower for the first year. So they're variant and they cost a different amounts per option, and the seller pays for them. So,
right.
you know, and those
repeat that. The seller pays for that.
The seller pays for it. It's negotiated by the agents. And if the seller's paying for it, that means no money out of your pocket. You're paying a lower payment.
Yes.
So something good to ask for if you're in the middle of looking or you don't have the right agent with, you know, talking about it, ask them about it.
Yeah, definitely. Which, you know, when it comes to listings, another thing that I wanted to pick your brain on is this bridge loan for folks that want to be able to purchase because it's a great buyer's market, but they're worried about when their home is going to sell or where they're going to go if they don't get a property. So how does this new bridge thing work?
Yeah, so the bridge loan works like this. You really need to have a certain amount of equity in your home. So if you've been in your home for a long time and you have you're sitting on a decent amount of equity, we can take that equity position of let's say 70% of the value of the home, and we can give you a zero interest loan towards the purchase of a new home. And whatever finance above that zero interest loan to acquire that new home is what you're financing, but we will give you a zero interest loan while you're in the process of selling your home. So it's called a bridge loan. It's a product that we white labeled through HomeLight. HomeLight did their own product, but we took that product and we kind of enhanced it with the zero interest loan. And what's nice is that we guarantee that we're buying the house from you. You actually get in contract with us for 120 days. And at that point, we just have to engage you in a contract, and then we can omit that debt from when we're trying to qualify you for the new property. Does that make sense? You don't have to sell to us, but you need to sell within that 120-day period, right? To sell it above whatever we're in contract for. So you have the right to sell your home. Say you're selling your home for 75 cents on the dollar to me. However, for in 4 months, you've got to sell it to somebody else for a better deal for you. So you're going to sell it for 90 cents on the dollar, 95 cents on the dollar, or at market value, whatever it is. You still get that. So what's nice about that product is you don't have to wait to sell your home to buy another home and be a contingent buyer. And so it gives you a lot of flexibility at a 0% interest rate to buy something else.
I love that. And I think a lot of people could use that so they could capitalize on the property right now to be able to purchase now.
If they're sitting on an equity position, a really heavy equity position, or if they're they have an issue with, if you know they're having a problem getting in contract right now because all of their offers are contingent upon them selling their property. Now you can get into an offer without a contingent sale because we already have it in contract. Does that make sense? And so that's kind of the piece that is important. And if you like to know more about it, there's videos I can send you. There's diagrams I can send you that make it a little bit easier to follow. It's a little bit more difficult to explain, but it's essentially a bridge loan. We put a lien on your departing residence and give you a loan at 0% interest for the new one.
And what mention your cell phone number as well. So there's somebody sees this and they're like, I want more info, they can text you.
Yeah, you can reach me at 916-872-7177. You can also email me at ianb@gomortgage.com. That's
Oh, that's easy.
IANB as in Bravo at gomortgage.com.
That's easy. Okay, good. And we'll make sure that we have your number everywhere on here as well. The other thing I wanted to pick your brain on, because I know you're doing a lot of this, and I want to be just like you and do some of this too, are folks that have a bunch of land. So there's a lot of land that just sits and sits and sits. I mean, the average on land right now is like 400 days plus, because if you have a piece of property that doesn't have utilities like, you know, electric, water, septic, or interconnected sewer, it's not really worth much. And I can tell you from experience that it costs about $100,000 to bring all these utilities into a piece of property. So when people see property, they're like, "Oh, I want that. I'm just going to roll my tiny house on there." It doesn't work like that. So can you tell us a little bit about how you are making deals happen for people that have land, and what that opportunity is for somebody that maybe inherits land or has 10 acres that they're like, "What do I do now? It's not moving. You know, I listed it with ABC agent down the street, and it's been on the market now for, 2 years. What do you do?"
Well, this is a great topic, and we could do a whole show on the entire topic. But land is there's many options that we can do. Typically, we can do a construction loan for a single family residence.
Okay.
We have an in-house construction loan process where you can take the equity that you have in the land and you can build. Of course, you need to have access to utilities, access to power. There's processes that are involved into acquiring that, but we can do it on any scale. So what the couple scales that you can do, you can look at from a small scale. You can put a manufactured home on there.
Okay.
We work directly with dealers. We can build a stick build home. We can do barndominiums.
Okay.
We can also turn these properties, depending on how the zoning is and depending on the location and depending on the scenario. If you own the land, we can change the zoning and see how many properties we can put on there, and we can subdivide it. And
wow.
And that's where you can make the big money. Oftentimes people inherit property. They don't know what to do with the property.
Right.
But if you're in a position where you don't have a lot of capital and you don't know what to do with it, but there's value there, there's plenty of people that we can help joint venture with. You can joint venture with us. You can joint venture with the builder. We can sell to a builder. We can there's many processes that we can do, but the further we entitle the land, the more value we bring to the land. So the biggest piece is that we bring in a surveyor. Surveyor will look at the land and see what can be done there, right?
Okay.
You're going to look at the lay of the land and look at the topography of the land. And they're going to say, well, you could put a house here, put a house here, put a house here. We go to the city and we see what the zoning allows for. And we can also see if we can petition for a rezoning or a special use zoning.
Okay.
So if we have the ability to turn, say, 10 acres into 10 parcels of residential homes, well, we just have the ability to make 10 lots. Now, in order to get that to 10 lots, it'll require a subdivide right? And a rezone. But now it does cost money to do this. So if you don't have equity, we can either try pulling cash out of your free and clear property, and loans, and we can pay for that and get that subdivision process handled, or we can joint venture with either a builder, or we can joint venture with the developer, or you can joint venture with us. But what a lot of people are doing is say, like, there's 5 acres in Renton, for example, we do this all over the U.S. 5 acres, and it had it had about, I'd say 10 parcels, 10 separate
Okay.
APN numbers, and each APN
Wow.
is delegated to one house. They all touch
Uh-huh.
each other. What
Uh-huh.
we're able to do is we find out how the zoning sits. We're we're currently working on an entitlement plan for 90 townhomes,
Wow. That's
right?
so exciting.
And so 90 townhomes, if you can imagine, the profit on a piece of a 5 acre land just turned from, say, 9 homes to
Mhm.
90 townhomes. Think,
Right.
think of the value that you're bringing to that land. Think of how much you could sell this land for
Yeah.
to a developer, to a builder, or
Hmm.
to anyone, or just try to build it yourself.
Yeah.
Um, so, so there's a lot of value that you can bring with land if you know what to do with it. So I would urge anyone that if you're sitting on land, you're sitting on ownership of land, or you just acquired land, if you have any land that you don't know what to do with it or how to start, call Jessica. Jessica's, very knowledgeable in the area. She can pull up zoning. We can all get together and see what can be done with it. Because I mean, this is the nature of the game. This is where a lot of people make their millions of dollars in real estate
Hmm.
is land development. So
Yeah. Well, and I think for agents as well, for agents that have land listings that are not moving, I would urge you to call Ian on this, and you will like sit down, which I think I take it for granted because I have that relationship. I just had a guy call the other day that said, "Yeah, I want to get these 9 acres. I need to take you to lunch." And I was like, "You need to take Ian to lunch. Like, well, I'll grab Ian." But I think for agents that have property that has just been sitting, land specifically that's just been sitting, and they don't know what to do, I would really encourage them to call you because you're willing to go sit down with the agent, with the owner. Let's figure this out. Let's sit down for coffee or lunch and figure out how we can make the most of this. And a lot of professionals out there, realtors and lenders alike, don't have the time to go figure these things out. And you really put time into this and jump in where people need the help. And none of this is like instant money. I think that's why it's so hard because we're in an
yeah,
industry where we're so busy all day long, 7 days a week, getting pre-approvals, showing property, writing contracts, negotiating everything, that it's hard to make the time for a what if. But you make the time for a what if all the time. You do it with our clients with strategy calls, figuring out what the best loan is, going through the loan disclosures with them and with me. So I think if you're an agent and you need a good lender, call Ian. We'll put your phone number out again. And then if you have property that's just sitting there, especially 5 acres or more, you need to call Ian and have that conversation because this could be the difference between making some money and getting your seller paid and losing the listing at the end of 376 days.
yeah, yeah. Well, I appreciate the shout outs. I think it's really important to understand that it does take time with these types of
Mm.
projects. A development project just to get it approved with the city and the county, and sometimes takes just about a year after you've
Uh-huh.
$500,000 in architectural and entitlement fees. So,
Uh-huh.
and that depends on the deal, right? Sometimes there's joint ventures, sometimes there's a way to pull the cash out of the land, sometimes there's other opportunities where we can do a joint venture, bring a developer in and partner with you on getting the land entitled and then selling it to a builder.
Uh-huh.
There's different phases where you can get out, and there's different phases where you can put money in, and there's different, every time you're furthering that land
Mm.
into a building project, the more value you're bringing to the land.
Sure.
So, the same piece of dirt can cost 10 times more or be
Mhm.
worth 10 times more after you've entitled it,
Yeah.
you know? And so there's a lot of ways to bring more value to land, and it's just a matter of picking up the phone and calling somebody who understands it. So, and Jessica, I know you're working with a couple of landowners right now, people interested in buying land. So I'm working with
Yeah.
Jessica, but
Yeah, but I would say if you're an agent, go to Ian direct. And like, yeah, leave your cell phone number again because for agents that listen in, and I know a lot of my agent friends do, these are conversations that we have in real life. They're like, "Oh, I saw something you were talking about the other day." So yeah, leave
yeah,
your phone number again for our agent friends that need to reach out to you.
yeah, it's 916-872-7177.
And I would
Um,
say if, especially for our agent friends, if there's a topic that you're interested in learning more about, or a problem maybe that you're having, you're not getting somebody into contract, or the loan program that you thought you were going to use is no longer available, I would encourage you to call Ian as well, because I know lenders often say all lenders have, all lenders are alike. That is not, I am here to tell you, not true. That is not true. I could give you many ways that you are different than the rest. But I would encourage agents, if you're having some hiccup and it's something that you want to discuss or jump on with us, call, text, DM, jump on with us and let's have that conversation. Because we're very community minded and love working with other agents and other lenders that are just as ready to go up and hustle and help their people as we are. Like, we want to be around that kind of community.
yeah. And also just to circle back, the bridge loan option, that is another opportunity for you to not only not sit on a listing, but
Mm-hmm.
it gives you an opportunity to purchase a property while you're trying to sell the other listing. And
Uh-huh.
it helps the client get off their seat and really be motivated to sell, because they don't want to
Definitely.
sell at 75 cents on the dollar. They want to sell it at market value. But
Definitely.
they're willing to move that ticker once they're engaged in a contract at
Mm,
75 cents on the dollar within 120 days. So
yeah.
it's, you don't lose any commission as an agent going that option, and we give your client money at 0% interest.
No,
Um,
I would say it's a real benefit to the agent, because you're getting them in a purchase. You're getting them in a purchase. And now you know that you have a offer, even if it's not the best offer, on the back end to sell their house. So you're
yeah,
guaranteeing your two commissions. You're guaranteeing your seller's going to get out of their property they want to leave and get into a new one. So it's just more of a guarantee.
right, right. Lastly, we're doing heavy HELOC promotions.
Oh
We,
yeah.
we do a lot of first lien HELOCs. There's a quarter incentive on rate if you do an auto debit on your HELOC. We have in-house HELOC program that we just launched, and I'll have more about that next time we talk, Jessica.
Okay.
So I'd be happy to explain, but we do barndominiums, we do manufactured construction, and that's residential construction. We work directly with the dealers directly. We'll pay for the product and have it delivered
With
um,
manufactured home.
with manufactured homes. And so it's barndominiums US Bank does not do, and manufactured US Bank does not do. So we do a lot of stuff that US Bank does not do.
Oh, I
Um,
love that. I want a whole, yeah, I think next week we need to really dive in, because I get a lot of questions on that because of land listings that I've had,
yeah,
about moving a modular home onto it, because you have to have a home in order to live on that. Some
yeah,
county to
yeah.
county, it differs as to what they're going to allow. But I'd love to dive into that next week and
Okay.
pull up some like actual land listings that would work for a manufactured home, and kind of go through the numbers. What, how big the manufactured home is, what the loan looks like, what the credit score is needed, because I have a lot of calls about that right now. I think just with prices being as high as they are, everyone's looking for an alternative.
You're absolutely right, and that's why we're hitting hard on this, because manufactured housing's cheaper, right? The
Uh-huh.
labor's cheaper. It
Yep.
comes in and it's already kind of prefabricated, so
Uh-huh.
it makes it a lot easier for people to afford than a stick built. So
Yeah.
I think the biggest thing is the dealer needs to be the general contractor on these.
Okay.
There's only a certain amount of dealers that will do that. And so we have a relationship with a lot of these dealers, and we
Hmm.
can steer you to the right direction. And they are in California as well. So we do lend nationwide, and when it comes to land or any of these construction questions, just feel free to reach out to ianb@gomortgage.com or call 916-872-7177, and we'll get you in touch with the right people. But yeah, I
Or
don't
you
know.
can text Ian too. You are quick to respond, which I think is
Yeah,
another thing that is unusual in the world that we live in. With everyone's busy, and you always get back to my clients. You always get back to me. I think that is just it's understated that you make the time for people, and you make the time for situations that may not end up being anything at all. And I
yeah,
think that's what's so hard to do in this business, is take the time away from business that you're working on to have conversations about maybes. But a lot of those maybes turn into something because you're putting in the time, the effort, and the energy to help people where they need the
yeah.
help.
Well, that's what we do when we get to do what we love to do.
Yeah.
And I know you do. Jessica, she's a pistol. She's probably the most aggressive and the most successful agent that I've ever worked with. So I
I appreciate that.
honestly can say that. She will get you a better deal than any other agent that you'll ever work with.
Oh, I'm out to get it. I'm out to get a deal. We are, and Ian and I are about to put 5 more in contract and we'll talk about that next week too. What kind of deals we're getting and what the contract looked like and what our negotiation was. But I really want to hit the manufactured home and the land next week. Oh, that's awesome.
Okay.
Leave your phone number one more time so everybody knows how to text you, call you.
Yeah. It's a 916-872-7177.
Awesome. All right. Thanks so much, Ian.
Thank you. Thanks, Jessica.